Thank you, Yah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't he good? God is good.
All the time.
Okay, so help me remember where we're going.
Samuel.
Second Samuel.
2 Samuel 6 through 10. We're running short on time. Do we want to read that part or do we want to just summarize it?
No, to share what God taught us this week.
Okay, so,
Don't touch the ark.
so let me give the
Even
abridged.
Indiana Jones. Yeah.
Let me make sure we understand what's going on. So we have this story, and the ark was taken captive because Saul's sons, right? I just want to listen to that. It was, yeah, they took it out thinking that for battle it would be good, right? And then who took it captive? Philistines. And they got something upon them. What they get on them? Tumors. And they put it in front of their God, and what happened to him?
Kept falling down.
He kept falling down, and where does his hand land?
On the threshold.
On the threshold. Kind of significant there. So now, this story has happened. The ark is over there. The Philistines are like, man, we got to get rid of this thing. This is killing us. So they put it on a cart and send it off, right? It ends up at a Jewish man's home, and his name is
Obed-Edom.
Okay. And what happens to him when he receives the ark?
Blessed.
Blessed beyond measure.
He's blessed beyond measure. King David hears about it. Doesn't he? And what's David say? Just go get it. So he wants it. So what's he do? He sends a cart,
He went and got the priest.
He puts it on a new cart.
a new cart.
A new cart.
Puts the cart before the horse, goes down and gets it. So he goes in and gets it. Cart stumbles. Man touches it. What's his man's name?
Uzzah.
Uzzah. David gets mad at God
It's so hard.
because he's so hard.
My book says that he was afraid.
Or
He made
afraid.
him afraid.
Okay.
Mine actually says he was angry and
Okay.
It's not. That's just not copacetic. It's just put that.
that's not what
What?
I thought we dealt with that in the first portion.
That's relevant.
So, then 3 months pass, is that right?
Yes.
David kind of gets over his problem, afraid or mad or whatever.
Now, I wonder if during that 3 months, he went back to the Torah scroll that he was to have written out to find out what he did wrong.
I don't know, it doesn't say repent.
Well, he obviously did because he went back and did it at the right time.
They sacrificed his whole life. So they went back and got it, and then David is just so excited. Look at that, look at that. He is doing more than Janet Jackson did on the Super Bowl just a few years ago.
Well, I don't know. At least in my far, he didn't have Justin Timberlake with him.
Oh. So, and then because of that, his wife, McCall, approaches him and says, kind of chastises him.
How the king of Israel distinguished himself today. He uncovered himself today in the eyes of his servants' maids as one of the foolish ones shamelessly uncovers himself.
Okay, so then we go on the story, and what happens to her because of that?
She has
Childless.
children.
God closes the womb.
You think so?
I think so.
Michal, the daughter of Saul, had no children to the day of her death.
Doesn't say God changes, didn't say, doesn't say
He
that.
opens and closes.
He opens and closes, but David had a choice of going in or going out. He got
Right.
what he was.
True. Yeah.
Okay.
Because we do see him say that God closed her womb or opened her womb. I mean, it's not that it's unprecedented that it says that God did it.
Did it say God did it?
Right, and it doesn't here, is my point. Yeah, right.
It's a gray area.
David's
Kind of
choice.
journal.
But it is kind of black and white. Did he say it or did he not say it? I didn't hear him say it. Okay, so is there any other part to the story other than that? Let's make sure, is that pretty much the Reader's Digest version of the story? Okay, so let's discuss.
God will let you do things the way you think to do them. Eventually, somebody's going to get a 2x4 and wake you up.
Yeah, Roger.
I think it's interesting that Obed was a foreigner
who kept the ark in his home. I think that was impressive, that he was blessed as a foreigner. And I also think that,
I think it's a Judy.
right, and I think that this idea that his wife, David's wife, remains barren and childless is because she called him a vulgar exhibitionist, and she made fun of him and chastised him for being in the spirit and celebrating God. And I think that was her punishment for it, was that the lesson here is you don't make fun of and chastise people who are celebrating Adonai.
Amen.
Don't judge people for the way
No.
they keep the Sabbath or their celebrations or their names or festivals. What you say?
Yes.
You know, it's interesting though, what it does say, that David did say, is that it was before the Lord who chose me above your father and above all his house to appoint me ruler over the people of the Lord, over Israel. Therefore I will celebrate before the Lord. I will be more lightly esteemed than this, and will be humble in my own eyes. But with the maids of whom you have spoken, with them I will be distinguished.
Does that kind of sound prideful?
It does sort of to me, I mean,
It
I
does,
mean-
it does to me, I mean, not to interrupt here,
Yeah.
but on that subject where he says, even if it makes him more contemptible before them, they will still honor him.
right?
So he still is, he has the, you know, I'm the king, even if it makes me contemptible, they're still gonna honor me.
I-
I'm sorry.
I think in this marriage, there were unresolved issues.
Yeah.
When,
Yeah.
Oh.
When he got sent, she's been living with another
Okay,
man
man,
for
let's
almost.
exit stage 9, hurry. There's issues?
when David came, back, and became the king over all of Israel, you know, he took her away from a husband that evidently loved her because
Mhm.
the guy was crying all the way.
But wasn't she David's first?
She was David's very first wife, and in order, you know, to secure his kingdom, he had to have the daughter of Saul
No,
as his wife.
wait,
I
no,
thought
he
was betrothed.
he was betrothed.
But
He was never Michael was never given to David.
No, they were betrothed. They
Well,
weren't
she
married.
hit him in the bed, so I don't know.
okay, let's
Oh, yeah?
go back to Torah.
Oh, she hit, but she hit his likeness in the
I'm
bed.
just playing the rabbit.
It wasn't him.
That's true.
Yeah, it was his likeness.
But she shouldn't have been
Stop
doing that if.
But it
What
doesn't
does
say,
Torah say about a virgin who's betrothed to someone?
She's his. There, it
They're
just hasn't been consummated,
they're married.
right? Right.
I'm just.
Yeah, no,
I'm
that's
just
exactly
throwing-
what
I'm just throwing
the
concepts out
ketubah is
there.
all about. And once the ketubah is signed, you're married. You may not have consummated it yet, in most cases you won't have consummated the marriage yet, but you are married
In God's eyes.
in God's eyes.
Okay, so there is some tension there, I agree.
Mm-hmm,
So something's going on,
mm-hmm.
more than I can put my mind on. Okay, go ahead.
There's a kind of a contrast here.
Boy, hang on just a second.
I was gonna say what Dottie said. That,
Ditto to Dottie.
yeah, ditto to Dottie.
Abby, dear Abby. Okay, Gary, I'm sorry. I was just trying to being a
Yeah.
moderator here, keeping
Please,
people
yeah.
turns.
Yeah, there's kind of a contrast here because, okay, yes, so that's what it says. And there actually would be, if they, you know, if a man slept with a woman who was betrothed, they would actually both be liable for death.
Yes.
So,
Well, didn't
There's-
the man that she was married to, did he end up in demise?
No,
I just.
no, he didn't get killed.
Did he not get killed?
No, he just said, go home. He eventually told, you're right,
You're out of here?
That's what
He
you're
came crying behind her, and David said, "Go home."
not
So
Joab,
it's
but
interesting
it's
when you- I guess-
Yeah,
Abner told him to just go home.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
I guess what I'm trying to draw out here is there's a contrast between David and Messiah being the son of David and Joseph, and Messiah being the son of Joseph. So you see Joseph and Mary, that whole thing happens. So basically Mary's betrothed to him, and he says, okay, well, she's pregnant, obviously she slept with someone else because I haven't slept with her. So him being a righteous man, though, Matthew says, he sought to put her away privately, not to go take her before the Sanhedrin and stone her. So there's a contrast to how something's walked out, immersion, and the way that David did it. And not to accuse David of anything, but there's, you know, he's a person.
do you think there's a potentially even a picture of our betrothal at Mount Sinai, David being the father, being king, and we come to him and boom, we're betrothed. And almost from that moment on, whoo, we go astray and go adulterous and are given over to another husband and live with him for many, many years until there's a time when we're brought back. And if you will, maybe almost a picture of atonement, where we have this decision where, as Michael, we have the decision to say, okay, you are the anointed, and yes, I will come back to be your wife. Because we know David never gave her a writ of divorcement. He never divorced her, although she did marry another. But
he had no choice in the matter.
But he had no choice in the matter.
She was stolen from him.
But versus this picture of Michael actually refusing to come back to David spiritually, if you will, and she's without children.
Well, she's certainly
She's-
not a willing partner.
Right. I mean, and if you will, she has no fruit. In the end, no children,
She
no
had
offspring.
already had a child.
Yes. Yeah, with him?
With David, yeah. Yeah, when it lists his children later on in the,
Oh, does it say by
uh,
Michael?
Mikal.
Mikal?
I think what they said was it was another, so this is maybe a Talmudic thing,
Mhm.
because they said it was another name for Mikal. So,
Because here it says to her dying day, she was childless.
And that could be because David just basically
Right.
refused to have any intercourse with her again after that.
Yeah, which,
He may have fallen out of love with her that way and just didn't want to have anything to do with
Mhm.
her physically.
she would
That'd
be
be kinda
real
weird.
easy to fall out of love with.
boy, but he did love her. I mean, I think that's again still that picture of how much he really loved her, to even after she had been off with a man and they hadn't spent, even if whatever happened, they hadn't spent a lot of time. There was a lot more distance between them than there was together. He still loved her enough to say, bring her back to me. And I don't necessarily see it as a possession, saying, she was mine to begin with, bring her back here.
I still think it had to do with him securing the kingdom. When he moved from
That's
Hebron
huge.
to all of Israel, he wanted to make sure that all of Saul's house knew that, through Michal or anything like that, he wanted to tie up all the loose ends.
Yeah, those are things that a lot of times we don't bring in because we don't live in that world as much.
Kingdom.
Well, and we don't live with that sort of hierarchical, kind of like a king, that setting to
Right.
where,
And some kings will slaughter everybody, and some king will bring them to him so he can keep a close eye on them.
right?
And that's exactly why Ishbosheth was
Yeah.
crippled, because they thought David would come kill everybody, and so they would try to get out of Dodge really fast, and that's why
Oh, Mephibosheth,
uh,
yeah, right.
Oh, I said the
Yeah.
wrong son.
Yeah,
Kind of like
Mephibosheth,
God
right.
wants to be king and not a man.
Yeah.
And he wants to bring us back to him
He
too.
brings back. Let me tell you the picture I saw in this.
Yeah.
I see the picture of the current Hebrew movement.
In
David loves
whom?
God. David loves God with all his heart.
Okay,
David is a new king. So he looks up and he sees, oh, the ark's over there. We in the Hebrew movement look, there's more to Christianity than just being a church on Sunday. There's truth over there. Wow!
The ark.
Let's go get it!
bring it into my house,
I have no idea what I'm doing, but I
which is
love
where
it.
the
I'm gonna
scrolls,
get it.
which is where the scrolls existed, right?
Yeah, it's
They were
here,
in the ark?
baby.
But you
It
know
is
he's
right
not
over there.
touching
It's in his attic. We need to Here's get the it here. car. Let's get it. Get the cart, baby. Get the station wagon. Let's go.
And we don't do it the right way.
And then we don't read the law and say he's holy. This is how you should do it. Well, we don't care. Let's go get it.
Well,
It's about my heart, isn't it?
And we have a shunful spirit to those who are teaching who are like Levi. So we
And
have
so-
to go through Levi where we're supposed to.
In this walk, in this walk, and this is where I've been on the Torah terrorist when I first got into the movement. I had no clue what I was doing. I was excited. I was no clue. I was offending people. David was offensive, wasn't he?
guess to at least.
In his
call.
zeal, was David excited about it? Oh, he was excited. Is
Yeah,
there
it
any
was
wrong with
hon-
that?
it was
I'm
honest.
excited for him too.
It was honest, it was pure excitement,
It's pure excitement.
yeah.
But what he didn't realize is that he killed a man. Who killed that man? David did. Why? How did he kill him?
With the power and the torch.
By not following Torah.
Won't be
It
the
did.
last one.
It won't be the last one. So, in my own life, have I offended someone because I thought I was doing the right thing, but not following Torah?
Yeah, do we run the risk of killing someone because they will turn away and say, I want nothing to do with this and I am dedicating my life to,
Have I killed that relationship?
right. Yeah, the chance that you may kill someone's seeking after him.
So David in this picture, and this is just me, you don't have to agree with me, this is just the way I see it.
Right.
David receives that and he goes, you know, Torah says we have to do this. In my life, I look at it and I'm like, you know, to my wife, I'm sorry.
Speak up.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's, that is what he said.
You're too easy on him, Shirley.
My wife doesn't say anything. She goes, you know, I've read the word again, you know, and I was out of place and I shouldn't have said what I said. And I hurt someone and I hurt you. So let's go at this again. So we go back and we get back into the word and we get our priest and we say we're sorry and we start carrying it back, right? Well, then we get all tired again. Did you know he broke another commandment? McCall was right. He needed to be chastised. Because in the next 12 portion, the writer's going to bring next week, what's it say about when we built an altar or when we go before the Lord? No, no.
Not to go in your
We're not
underwear.
supposed to-
Don't
we're not
expose
supposed
your
to
nakedness.
expose your nakedness by building it up on a high area.
Well, what's all this about?
Well, you had on an FI.
His wife was saying that we were seeing his, somebody read that.
Yeah,
Nakedness.
Nakedness.
I will,
Like a vulgar exhibitionist.
Yeah, she called him a vulgar exhibitionist, so vulgar, kind of puts a
Dirty, dirty,
a
dirty.
word on it.
Here, Shirley, you can call it David.
I looked it up though.
He's being an exhibitionist. Here's his dollar.
Stripper.
He's a stripper.
Stick it in the safe file.
Yeah, it says exposed.
my shirt off for So here we go. David is learning. He's on a learning curve. None of us are perfect, are
Well,
we?
you should know what that means.
Exposed.
So he messed up again. Didn't he? In his excitement, we get in our excitement, then we hurt other people, do other things. And somebody comes up to us lovingly and says,
She wasn't loving. Sorry.
Yeah, that's not the way she handled it with him.
No.
she was a little stricter than that, yes. So she was not 100% right. She was a little strict with him.
And that's why a wife, that speaks about how the wives are supposed to be supportive of us. And that is a lot of what wives do, is they keep us from making those mistakes as men. And they bring us back down to earth, and they stop us from being so full of ourselves, and they correct us with love.
Thank
Why,
you.
just this
Thank you,
morning, I
Ross.
told him, put your pants on before we go.
That's a good wife. That's a good, that's not only serving your husband, that's serving all the rest of us too. Thank you.
Yes, dear.
In this, I see that God's
In that
mercy
passage,
and
Exposed.
compassion, because
Yeah,
there were 30,000
the same
people
word. Uncovered,
sinning. All these people were sinning,
Shamelessly.
30,000.
Uncovered.
uncovered, shamelessly, and uncovereth. All the same word, Hillel.
Wow, that's amazing. How many people are sinning and then he took one?
Leave him to
That
give
is
him a
upsetting.
moment.
He did that before, didn't
Turn over a rock and you
he? Makes
expose
up
what's
like he should have,
underneath.
wouldn't it?
Correct you are.
Turn over a rock
Well,
and
and
see a little
the
buzz.
eight and the
Well,
high
it's just
should
amazing
reveal
how God has mercy,
a lot of it's
even on us, when we think we know
turning over
something.
something
At least
to
that's the way
reveal.
I see it. I might be totally wrong, but the way I see it is just how I've been in this movement. I get all excited, and sometimes I've got my feelings
They
hurt
took
because
it down.
somebody didn't see it exactly the way I had, they might have said something to me. So then I'm like, well, I know more than you do, or whatever. And I think what happened here is Michael didn't have children because David was like, I'll show you, I've got other wives. And that's, so here's my question. In my life, are there things that I have done, or am I holding on to, that I meditate to the altar? And get rid of? And ask for forgiveness from somebody? Because I've been holding a grudge, just because we might have a little difference of opinion over a gray matter? That's what I see. And that's what I see in my life. Okay, y'all discuss.
More so than any uncovering or acting
Anything else?
inappropriately.
We were just talking about the Hebrew word there for galah.
In 20, in 2 Samuel 6:20,
And you know, it doesn't necessarily say that he exposed his nakedness.
Okay.
But what I believe is that he took off his kingly garments and he became as one of the people. Just like you were talking about this morning, that none of us were all on the same level. So King David put himself on the level of those handmaidens. That's what made,
And when she got upset is because
because he
of the
wasn't
pride?
being this highfalutin king. Oh, you're nothing like my dad, you know, my dad would never have done that, you know, type attitude. And
so she's upset because he's hanging out with commoners.
well,
I think so.
but he's actually lowering himself,
Yeah.
which, if you will, by default,
That's Yeshua's,
Yes.
he lowered himself.
by default, if he lowers himself, she gets lowered.
and she didn't like that.
And she
She
may
liked
not have
being-
liked the idea of being just like the
She liked being
handmaids.
in that high position.
I'm a
So,
wife, I'm a queen.
Remember, I mean,
Different
she was
perspective.
King Saul's daughter, you know, and Saul had this pride issue.
Because we were looking at, in 20, there says, how glorious was the king of Israel today, who uncovered himself today. That word uncovered is galah. And then you go on down, how himself today in the eyes of the handmaids, his servants, as one of the vain fellows, shamelessly, galah, same word, uncovered, galah, same word. And Dottie pointed out that
That's a good-
Gimel Lamed is like the idea of turning something over and revealing something, especially with that hay right at the end of it.
So he was
Revealing.
revealing his heart, is what.
and he wasn't revealing himself.
I think really
I
is
really
more of
think
a
so.
point.
It-
And so if that's the case, then that goes back to the point where, to the rich ruler, when Yeshua says, what must I do to inherit eternal life? He goes, we'll sell all. and
Yeah.
give to the
Mhm.
poor.
Reveal your heart.
Reveal your heart, and David did that. Well, that's a new one.
And see, you know, why would God call him a man after God's own heart? He-
I like that end of the story, much better than the other one.
I think
can't
it
see
was,
Shirley handing one out $1 bill.
I think it was Mike, it was Michal's problem. I think it was the wife. She had the wrong attitude, and it was a pride thing. And I'm not, you know, I'm not saying that, you know,
She
wife
was
can't-
Saul's daughter, she wasn't David's wife.
Exactly, yeah. She didn't want to be there.
So is that why, then he says, I'll be more lightly esteemed than this, and they'll still respect me. Like, I'll even serve more than that, I'll become
Exactly.
more like them.
And
And
in
they
the
respect
Hebrew,
me,
it
'cause you
says,
don't
I will
understand.
be more humbled.
Yeah, and see, and I think that points to what you were talking about, that in fact, this was actually David showing, no, I'm not doing this to
Exalt us.
exalt myself, I'm doing this to, you know, but I will be, and it's a statement of, like you said, with Jesus becomes a servant of all, we will exalt him.
Well, he became a servant of all when he washed the disciples' feet.
Right, but in so doing, we exalt him to the highest.
Right.
The servant, the greatest among you will be the least.
And that's why they loved David, because David became one of them. He didn't exalt himself as this great high king that was above everybody.
Which goes to the heart of the woman who he had recently married. who was
Abigail?
Abigail.
Yeah.
Abigail. who was also married to a rich.
who he honored.
Who
He saw in her,
but
I
she
think
was
what
a
he was
servant.
looking for Michael.
And she was
Michael.
a servant. She lowered herself down and had no problem bringing herself down.
She covered her husband, who was doing wrong, and yet she covered him, really by saying, well, no, he was really only just trying to do this. He wasn't trying to disrespect you.
So David could be going, there's a lot more shalom in this house
Mhm. But this is a good woman.
than this house.
She knew how to humble herself.
Mhm. Yes.
She
She
was
She
Saul's
was,
daughter.
she was a servant.
The other one was too worldly like we live right now.
That's a good thought. I'm not saying, this is an interesting thought.
Yeah, well, and Abigail,
Materialistic.
Yeah.
Abigail came out and washed
The thing.
the feet, right?
Yeah.
So what you're saying, kind of to bring this full circle, you mentioned Yeshua washes his disciples' feet, and then he had a towel girded around his waist. And so here at this point, you kind of see a foreshadow, because he's wearing an ephod here at this part.
He's dressed as a priest.
Right, yeah, and there's two other places that he wears an ephod after this,
Mm.
but it's just kind of interesting.
Well, my scriptures just say he wore a linen garment, it didn't say,
Yeah, mine
like
says
linen
ephod.
shoulder garment, it didn't say he wore an ephod.
Well, a linen garment was the priestly garment.
Right.
It was the same as the ephod.
But most likely, if he's King David, he's probably dressed a little bit differently than David.
But, I mean, that's the whole point. He took off his priestly garment. He took the common linen garment of a common priest.
And David didn't really amass much wealth for himself.
No, he saved up everything for the temple.
He saved it for the temple. He didn't get many horses.
Yep. Not like his
How
son.
many wives did David have?
12.
12 wives.
And you know how children always do more than we do? Solomon learned really well.
Solomon had 1,000, didn't he? No, 1,000.
700.
700.
Got 300.
Yeah, 300.
And a bunch of horses.
Well, that was buddying up to the nations.
Yeah,
You gotta figure, okay, if I marry the king of Egypt's daughter,
exactly. That's the only reason King Solomon has to be one.
So you know what's going to be awesome?
What?
Is someday you pass by and there's King David.
Amen.
And you go,
Can I dance?
you're, you're king, may I ask you a simple question? And I'm sure there'd be a crowd. You go, what really happened that day?
Maybe we won't have to ask him if Mikhail isn't there. Right? Thought.
Well, she'll get an equal
She's-
chance.
She exposed her heart too.
She did, I guess she did. Okay, so there's more to this story than we think.
Possibly.
It's just one chapter.
There's a whole book there.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I think I told Gabriel, I think it was actually a lyric that I heard that I thought was really great. It was, I think it's Michael, what's his name? The three names? Michael W. Smith or whatever it goes. Is when you see the author, the book is just starting.
Yes.
I just caught that lyric and I was listening to the song, just caught that lyric and it just jumped out at me. I thought that was really it was a great visualization, great imagery. It's like when you actually see the author, the book's just starting.
It is. So I want to read the second verse of my story. Of the Hebrew original too. First one is we get zealous. We don't know what we're doing. And in that process we hurt people. Then we learn. And then those relatives of ours
Make fun of us.
make fun of us. They look down their nose at us and go, you're going to lower yourself to those people?
Yeah.
So that's story number 2.
Yeah, I thought of that while ago.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So that fits today too.
You know, and yet in juxtaposition to that, to a sense, he talks about you lower, he's brings himself down, which we already talked about, in a sense, actually exalts him.